Most fans only saw the score, a clean number on a card, a few highlights, a few smiles. But what they didn't see was Rickie Fowler standing on the range before RBC Heritage, ball after ball after ball, trying to find something that had started slipping away. Not confidence, not talent, something even scarier for a golfer: trust. By the time tournament week arrived, he had already hit 561 balls, chasing a feeling most players pray never disappears. And that's what makes this story different. This wasn't a flashy comeback speech. It wasn't some perfect swing breakthrough caught in slow motion. It was a fight, quiet, frustrating, repetitive, and deeply human. Because when a player as gifted and as loved as Rickie starts searching that hard, you know the game has taken him somewhere uncomfortable. And what happened next at Harbour Town wasn't just impressive. It said something bigger about pressure, belief, and why golf can break your heart one week, then bring it roaring back the next. And before we go any further, if you truly love golf, if this game means something to you, and if stories like this hit you a little deeper than just scores and highlights, then subscribe and become part of this golf family. Because this channel is for the fans who know golf is never just golf. Rickie Fowler and Harbour Town have history. This is the place where he made his PGA Tour debut as a teenager. Back then, he was the fearless kid everybody noticed. Bright colors, big talent, big future. But nearly 2 decades later, he came back to the same tournament in a very different place. Older, wiser, a husband, a father, a proven winner, but also a player trying to hold things together in a season that had started to drift. And if you're a golf fan, you know how this works. It doesn't take much. A little bad timing, a little doubt, a few missed cuts. One part of your swing gets just slightly off, and suddenly the game feels 10 times harder than it should. That was the feeling around Rickie. There had been flashes earlier in the season, enough to remind people he was still there, still dangerous, still capable. But then came the slow weeks. Then came the missed cuts in Texas. Then came the Masters without Rickie Fowler in the field. And for a player this popular, every absence feels louder than it should. But here's the part nobody talks about. When most people hear a star player is struggling, they imagine one bad round, one bad swing, one bad week. What they don't picture is the lonely part. The range, the repetition, the uncertainty. The part where you keep hitting balls not because it feels good, but because it doesn't. That week at Harbour Town, Rickie hit 561 balls from Monday through Wednesday. Think about that for a second. 561. Not in some off-season rebuild. Not in a casual practice block months away from competition. Right before a tournament. Right before walking onto one of the most demanding courses on the schedule. That number doesn't sound like comfort. It sounds like a player trying to get something back before the clock runs out. And Harbour Town is not the place where you can fake it. You can't just overpower that golf course and hope it works out. It asks questions all day. Can you shape it? Can you flight it? Can you control your distance? Can you stay patient when the wind changes and the trees close in and the target looks smaller than it should? It's a ball striker's place, a thinker's place, a truth teller. So if your iron game feels a little off there, you feel all of it. Rickie admitted he was getting a little wipey with his irons. That's such a golfer's word. And if you play, you know exactly what he meant. Not a complete disaster. Not a total collapse. Just that ugly, uncertain strike where the face isn't quite where it needs to be, the flight isn't quite right, and your windows start disappearing. He was searching for better rhythm, better contact, better trust. He even sent swing videos to Butch, trying to find that one little checkpoint that makes everything feel connected again. And that's what makes this story hit harder. Because this wasn't just mechanics. This was mental. Rickie basically said it himself. Some of it was trust, and some of it was in the head. And if there's one thing every golfer understands, from weekend players to major champions, it's that once trust leaves the room, the swing starts feeling heavier than the club in your hands. And this is where everything changed. After all that grinding, after all those balls, after all that searching, Thursday finally arrived. Now imagine the pressure. You put in all that extra work. People know you've been grinding. You know you've been grinding. If it doesn't show up now, the doubt only gets bigger. The story gets darker. The questions get louder. But Rickie came out firing. He birdied 5 of his first 7 holes. That's not survival. That's not hanging around. That's a statement. And it wasn't fluky either. This wasn't one of those rounds where a guy is chipping in from everywhere and praying it holds together. He was hitting approach shots close. He was controlling numbers. He was seeing lines. He looked like a player who had finally slowed the game down enough to let his talent breathe again. That's the beautiful part of golf. Sometimes the game gives you almost nothing. Then suddenly, for a few hours, it gives you everything back. You could feel the energy shift. The same player who had been fighting his way through uncertainty now looked free. Not reckless. Not emotional in a wild way. Just settled. Present. Sharp. The kind of sharp you only see when preparation finally turns into trust. And then, just when the round was already getting interesting, came the moment that really told you Rickie was in it. Wait till you hear what happened next. On the par, 5/15th, his drive got him into trouble near a tree. The easy thing, there is frustration. The easy thing is panic. The easy thing is forcing a hero shot that makes everything worse. But Rickie did something that felt so perfectly Rickie Fowler. Creative, gritty, slightly chaotic, and honestly kind of awesome. He had to go left-handed to punch out. That's the kind of shot fans remember because it says more than a clean swing on the range ever could. It says the player is thinking, competing, adjusting, staying alive in the round instead of mentally checking out because the script got messy. And that par save mattered. Not just on the card. Emotionally. Because every good round has a moment where it can wobble. Every comeback has that one scene where the old frustration tries to creep back in. For Rickie, that could have been it. Instead, it became another signal that this week was different. He finished with a 6 under 65. Just like that. After all that noise, all that extra work, all that invisible frustration, he was right there near the top of the leaderboard at one of the tour's biggest events. But the score is only half the story. Because if you're a golf fan, and especially if you followed Rickie over the years, you know why this kind of round carries extra weight. Rickie Fowler has never just been another name on the board. He's one of those players people feel connected to. Maybe it's the way he carries himself. Maybe it's the way fans watched him grow up in the game. Maybe it's because he has always looked like someone who genuinely understands what golf can do to a person. The highs with Rickie have always been easy to celebrate. The lows have been harder to watch. And that's why rounds like this land differently. Because they remind you that players don't disappear as quickly as people think. Form does. Rhythm does. Confidence does. But class, fight, experience, that stuff stays there. Sometimes it just needs a little time. Sometimes it needs 561 golf balls. And maybe that's the real heart of this story. Not that Rickie suddenly became a different golfer overnight. Not that one range session fixed everything forever. Not that one Thursday round erased every question. No. What made this powerful was how human it felt. A veteran player, on a course he knows, after a stretch of frustration, choosing not to hide from the problem. Choosing not to pretend it was fine. Choosing instead to put in the work, own the discomfort, and walk into competition anyway. That takes something. And for the fans, it means something too. Because golf fans respect talent, sure. But what we really respect is honesty. Effort. The moments where a player looks vulnerable and competes anyway. The moments where the swing doesn't feel perfect, but the person stays strong. And this is why the 561 number matters. It's not just a stat. It's a symbol. It tells you how thin the margins are at the top of the game. It tells you how hard even the best players have to work just to feel normal again. And it tells you that behind every clean scorecard, there's often a messy story nobody sees. That's what makes golf beautiful. In most sports, struggle can be hidden a little better. In golf, it follows you. It shows up in your hands, your tempo, your eyes, your decisions. It shows up when the ball is sitting there and you know exactly what you want to do, but you're not fully sure you can do it. Rickie knows that feeling. Every golfer does. And that's why this performance at RBC Heritage felt bigger than one round. It felt like a reminder. A reminder that confidence can come back. A reminder that timing can return. A reminder that a player people love can still give them something to believe in. And maybe most of all, a reminder that in golf, sometimes the answer isn't dramatic. Sometimes it isn't magical. Sometimes it's just one more bucket, one more session, one more adjustment, one more day of refusing to quit on yourself. But here's the part one keep coming back to. Rickie didn't just show up and play better. He showed what resilience in golf actually looks like. Not a speech, not a slogan, not a highlight package. Work, doubt, patience, then trust. That's the journey. And whether you're a tour pro or someone trying to break 90 this weekend, that part should hit home. Because we've all had those moments where the game feels just a little out of reach. We've all had that thought. What if it's not coming back? What if the feel is gone? What if the good version of my game was the temporary one? Then you see a story like this, and it reminds you that the answer might be simpler than you think. Keep showing up. Keep working. Keep believing long enough to give yourself a chance. That doesn't mean the game always rewards you right away. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you hit 561 balls and still don't find it. That's golf too. And that's exactly why this week mattered. Because when the work finally did show up, it felt earned. Not lucky. Earned. This is why stories like this matter. Not because Rickie Fowler hit a bunch of balls. Not because he shot one great number. Not even because the fans loved seeing him back near the top. It matters because it showed us the side of golf that never stops being real. The side where belief gets tested. The side where talent alone isn't enough. The side where a player has to go looking for trust, one swing at a time, and hope it meets him on the first tee. And when it finally does, even for one round, it reminds all of us why we love this game so much. So now I want to ask you this. Have you ever had a moment in golf where everything fell off, and then one round, one swing, or even one shot brought you all the way back? Drop it in the comments. I really want to hear your story. And if you love golf for moments like this, for the struggle, the comeback, the emotion, and the honesty, stay with the channel. Because this game always has another story to tell.